AEW Dynamite was not canceled tonight. It took place in West Valley City, Utah, which, I guess this could be the last Dynamite we see in a while because all the stuff that's going on with the coronavirus tonight. But the show started off with Santana and Ortiz coming out, and Ortiz faces Cody. This was an okay little opener. This was fine to start the show off. They brawled for a while. Cody eventually got the win as everyone expected. After the bell, Santana jumps in. He hits Cody with the Mad Ball. Then Matt Jackson and Kenny Omega come out to make the save. And all of a sudden, while Santana and Ortiz are in the ring, Chris Jericho appears on the Titantron along with Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager. And there, Jericho says Cody might have the upper hand tonight. But in 2 weeks, Jericho will beat all the pumpkin-headed Deifitas in the Elite. And what he did was they revealed that they were standing in front of a doorway, like a steel garage door, and Nick Jackson's trapped under the door. What they did was they beat him up so bad and they dropped the thing on him, but like wasn't enough to kill him. But he's bleeding, he's bloodied up, and then they run off. And Cody, Matt, Kenny Omega, Dustin Rhodes, and Brandy, and there was EMT, and of course EMPs came later. They all run to Nick's aid, and they're able to get the garage door off him. Eventually, during the show, they show as it goes to commercial, they show the box, and Nick's loaded up into the ambulance. And eventually they leave. They leave with Nick. Nick Jackson goes, and I think Matt and Cody leave with him. They drive separately, so Nick gets taken to the hospital. Crazy opener. And I thought this was actually really well done. I thought this was a very good angle, very vicious heel angle for the Inner Circle. I look forward to the Blood and Guts match at War Games, Blood and Guts, and maybe it's not going to happen. I don't know, but maybe, who knows? Maybe everything will be fine in 2 weeks. Eventually, it's going to pass. Next, you go to a tag team match. You have Nyla Rose and Babe Presley against Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander. Presley, I don't know what they're going to do. I guess she can face Nyla Rose. This women's division is the worst anyway. Nyla Rose's team wins. She's just the worst. Who cares? No one gives a shit. So they go to a Christopher Daniels video package next, and that is where we see him like mocking the Dark Order. It's basically a parody, and he promotes that they're ready for him, and he's just mocking them. And he says they suck. And I guess Matt Hardy's going to be the leader of the Dark Order. That's the only way this makes sense. They've spent so much time, there's no other way to go. Next, you have Jurassic Express in a 6-man tag against the Butcher, the Blade, and MJF. And of course, the Butcher and the Blade are accompanied by the Bunny. Bunny Alley, I have to say, always looks great. She looked really hot tonight. This was a fun match to watch. I think Jurassic Express is okay. I think they're fine. They've lost some momentum. They were super over at first. Now they're just a decent tag team. But MJF's the heel. It's basically a showcase to get him over. You had Ali try to get involved. Eventually, in the end, you have MJF get Marco Stunt. He gets him to tap out. Marco Stunt sucks. He shouldn't be in the ring. It's whatever. And he taps out the armbar, and MJF celebrates with the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny for the win. So his team wins. They do a Darby Allin video package, and he's basically dragging a Sammy Guevara dummy in a body bag behind a pickup truck. This was just weird. I don't know. They had Tony Schiavone interview Britt Baker, and what she does is she rips into the crowd. She makes an incest joke, old joke. She said they all look related to each other. They have poor oral health, and Utah's boring. And it's because caffeine and alcohol are frowned upon. I don't know. I guess that was a joke. It goes on for a while. And of course, Big Swall interrupts her. And Swall's pretty cool here. Baker hides behind Tony. Swall said all Baker does is talk, but Baker says the only wrestler in Swall's Baker said the only wrestler in Swall's household that people care about is her boyfriend. Swall pointed out her wedding ring and said she's married, baby, which was actually really funny. Then what happens is Britt Baker throws coffee on Big Swall, so that's not a good idea. You want people to switch over to NXT, but I thought that was actually pretty entertaining. Next, you have a six-man tag of Pac, Pentagon Jr., and Ray Phoenix against Joy Janela and the Private Party. This is okay. This is basically, they set up a really cool ending, though, I have to say, with the whole Triangle of Death. These guys are a pretty cool team. I guess they have a decent faction of, Pac and Pentagon and Phoenix. They're supposed to be called the Death Triangle. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what the relation is within the countries, though. Mexico and the United Kingdom, but okay. I really like the Death Triangle. They have a cool submission at the end. Eventually, Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor make to save the best friends. But I thought this was well done. They have Lexi backstage, and she's with Dustin Rhodes. He says whether Hangman likes or not, he is going to be his partner tonight, and they're going to go after the Inner Circle. He had Lucha Bros and Pac against Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends next week. And you also have a six-man tag for the Blood and Guts advantage next week, which the Blood and Guts match is 2 weeks from now. That'll be 2 rings. I think the whole thing about the Blood and Guts thing is, whether or not this is a good time to do it. I mean, do you want people bleeding? What if someone does have the coronavirus? I don't think it's a good idea to have people bleeding all over the ring. So you're going to have blood. So here are the rules. 2 men enter the cage for a 5-minute round. Every 2 minutes, another participant enters. Match officially begins after all 10 participants have entered the cage. Winning team is the team making any opponent submit or surrender. No pinfalls. So they're not doing that. That's weird. Okay, that's cool. I guess you can have them surrender. It's their version of it. It is Blood and Guts. It's not War Games, but I do miss the old War Games format. Never really get to see it much. We haven't seen the whole original War Games. WWE, they did a different War Games at first, but then they altered it. The problem is they have the open roof. This has the closed roof, but I don't know. I do miss the original War Games match. I had Jim Ross interview John Moxley next. This was good. It was kind of awkward at first, but I thought it was fine what they did here. We get to the main event. You have Hangman and Dustin Rhodes against Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Solid matchup here, but it sets up just the whole Blood and Guts event in a couple weeks. After they get the win, they fight up the ramp, and there's just carnage. And it's basically the Inner Circle standing tall over the fallen baby faces. They're laid out with chairs. They had Matt Jackson and Hangman Page have an altercation where Matt Jackson gets angry and he flips off Hangman Page. And then, of course, both him and Hangman get beaten down heavily. They get hit in the head with Chris Jericho with the steel chair. And the show ends with the Inner Circle flipping everyone the bird. And that kind of the Shield pose, if you will, with giving people the bird. I thought it was okay. I thought this was a very okay show. Not a great show. I thought this was an average show, to be honest, but that's what it was. And we'll see. 2 weeks from now, we get to see Blood and Guts.